So I think we will make a start. We're up to 43, I think now. Um, I will be the master of ceremonies. My name is Richard. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Kensington. I am the Principal Academic Relations for Up Education in Auckland. Um, I'm a teacher by profession, and I have 30 years of experience in international education with New Zealand, uh, primarily with ACG education, more recently with Up Education. And prior to that, I spent 25 years in the New Zealand state education system. I also have a long love of India, dating back to the 70s when my wife and I traveled around India by third class train, something I will never want to experience again. But we had no money, and that's all we could afford. Um, but this love of India was also driven by the fact that my grandmother, or my maternal grandmother, at age 5, was sent off to school in Shimla as by a little girl all by herself. And she attended school, only came back for the annual school break, and she stayed at school there right through until she was 15. And then her parents decided they would not return to the Scotland. They migrated to a place outside Nelson in the South Island of New Zealand. Um, so today we have a comprehensive program. I've shared the link in the chat box to the latest version of the program, and that is hot off the press. So at this point, I'd just like to thank the many principals and senior academics from across India um, for their desire to learn more about New Zealand as a study destination um, and their attendance today at today's event. We also have representatives of the New Zealand universities, Education New Zealand, and as a special guest, we have two parents whose children are actually benefiting from this initiative already in admittedly online, but in New Zealand. And the three children collectively are across the three New Zealand universities. And at the conclusion of today's event, I'll announce the details of the school visit program for class 10 to 12 students in May 2023 and a principal's leadership program to be hosted by our partner universities for principals and senior academics in March 2023. So our program today is delivered in association with our partner schools and colleges across India, as I said, Education New Zealand and our three universities. And to commence today's event, I'd like to now introduce Dr. Hasija, Executive Principal, Director of Indra Professor School Group, and a leader in school-based education across India to provide the welcome. Thank you, Dr. Hasija.
Thank you, Richard. Precisely yesterday, I completed my 41 years as a classroom teacher. I joined 28th of April, 1981 as a classroom teacher in Montfort School, Delhi. So thank you, Richard, for giving me this opportunity. A very warm morning to each and everyone. Delhi, India is especially very warm. Education transforms, education empowers, and also education inspires to all to become the ideal role model. The importance of education can never be undermined. In fact, it is regarded as one of the most important social commitment and responsibility which every parent must fulfill. Our holy scripture, Bhagavad Gita, mentions that right education provides not only intellectual stimulation, but also provides a real purpose in life. Bhagavad Gita also defines the objectives of education, such as development of inner conscious, development of intellectual and logical ability. It helps to remove ignorance and develop virtuous knowledge, and thus clearly define the purpose, the path of life. Ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this initiative for which we are meeting right now, this collaboration, this partnership, is to provide quality education to our children. It is for their holistic development. The role of an educational institution, I believe, and its educational environment play a huge role in shaping lives and thus the career also. New Zealand is one of the such most sought after destinations for our students. I would like to put on record my gratitude to the people who have joined here for being an integral part of this initiative and helping us to adopt the Foundation Pathway Program. My gratitude to Mr. Ben Burrows, Regional Director Education New Zealand, the New Zealand Government representative, our university representatives from the University of Auckland, AUT University, and Victoria University of Wellington, Mr. Craig, Executive Principal, Up International College, and most importantly, the parents of the three of our children who chose the New Zealand pathway and are now reaping the benefit of this program. These children graduated from class 10 in 2021 and are now pursuing degree courses in since March 22 in the reputed universities of New Zealand. The parents of these children have also joined. So happy to welcome them, and I'm sure they are going to share the success stories of their children with us. Dear educators, while the concept of higher education in India begins after class 12th internationally, it is common that for after class 10th, they graduate to commence on the pathway program to a university degree and thereby save not only a huge financial, but also save a year in their academic pursuit. One of the major advantages that New Zealand offers is the number of English-speaking natives and the safety of our students. Hence, the language barrier which the student usually suffers on a foreign land is immediately quashed, thereby opening the floodgates of opportunities for our children. In terms of education and employment, the best part of these children is being close to those people who have very strong roots, connection with our Indian culture and environment. The best part of all this is to come in a very, very competitive, also the price band. I'm extremely happy to note that today's event has been conceptualized and organized by Asnani School, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, Dolphins Education, Jaipur, Rajasthan, EduZ, Jaipur, Rajasthan, iQuery, Australia, Lalaji Memorial, Omega International School, Chennai, St. Teresa College, Ernakulam, Up International College, New Zealand, Venkateshwara Signature School, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. This is Mount Abu School, Jyoti Arora has joined, Venkateshwara School, Delhi, Ambience School, Gurugram, and many other schools, Tagore International School, both Vasant Vihar as well as the east of Kailash branch. I would like to now hand over the charge of today's meeting to the Regional Director of Education, New Zealand, Mr. Ben Burrows, who will discuss with us today the reason that we make New Zealand a perfect destination, the reason for our children to study into the New Zealand environment, and the only choice which I believe our students and parents should have alike. Over to Mr. Ben Burrows, and once again, greetings and formal welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you, friends.
Thank you very much, Rajesh, for such kind words and such a warm welcome to begin today's event. You make it a very tough act to follow, but I'm pleased to be here and to share my knowledge about New Zealand as a country, and obviously also as a study destination for our Indian students. So kia ora koutou katoa, everyone. Nau mai, haere mai, hello and good morning to all of you. Ritu, if you don't mind, if you could please share my slides, that would be fantastic, and we'll get started. Thank you very much. So Again, thank you, Rajesh. To all of our friends and colleagues in India, thank you so much for joining us today. You're all here, obviously, because you are interested in what a New Zealand study experience has to offer your students, which is fantastic. So a warm welcome to everybody. And also a good afternoon to Craig and Richard, who are joining us in New Zealand. I think you're just the two in New Zealand. Forgive me if there's anyone else joining from New Zealand, but good afternoon if I've missed you out. So if we can please click through to the next slide. Thanks, Ritu. Before we get underway, I thought I should also start by firstly introducing, as Rajesh said, who we are, who Education New Zealand is, and our role within the education sector. So as you will see on the screen there in front of you, we are essentially the New Zealand government agency responsible for international education in our country. So promoting New Zealand as an education destination and also helping our education providers to deliver their programs and products around the world. So my name is Ben and I am the Regional Director for Asia. And it's my pleasure to be speaking to you today from Singapore on behalf of ENZ. And I apologize if you can hear any background noise behind me. Hopefully this headset is blocking it out. There's a house getting torn down next door. So please bear with me if there is any noise. But to get us started, I'm going to play on the next slide a very short video, thanks Ritu, to really introduce what a New Zealand education experience is all about and how we do set ourselves apart from the rest of the world.
Our world is changing, and our world needs new, because new doesn't just think about the world's problems, it cares. New acts boldly to solve challenges, but never forgets the importance of people.
It just opens my eyes to a much wider opportunities.
New is prepared for today and ready to create tomorrow.
I learned about identity, about myself.
New welcomes open minds and different perspectives.
The thing that surprised me the most is the diversity of culture here.
New is progressive and never stops learning.
Qualifications in New Zealand are recognized worldwide.
New is the problem solvers, the go-getters, the innovators, the big thinkers. New is a New Zealand education, and new is what the world needs.
All right. Okay, so for the rest of my presentation, I'm not going to try and overload you with a huge amount of information. Hopefully there's a few of these key themes that you'll remember and take away and associate with New Zealand, but I'll attempt to focus on just a few of those in sort of the next 10 minutes. And those themes are tied to a number of the infographics you can see on the screen in front of you. And those key themes that we talk about in New Zealand are creativity, safety and well-being, quality of education, graduate employability, and New Zealand's focus on future-proofing its students. So these will all cover the type of education experience students receive in New Zealand, how welcome they will be made to feel in New Zealand, and the impact a New Zealand qualification will have on both their personal and professional lives in the future. I'll then obviously be followed by our institutions, our universities, and UP, who will dig a little deeper into the specializations they offer students and the pathway options available to them. So if we can click through to the next slide, the first theme I want to highlight here, which came through quite clearly in that video, is our education system's focus on developing creative and critical thinkers. So again, as you saw on the video, this is essentially teaching a new way of looking at things. So for those of you who might not be familiar with New Zealand, for those of you who are and are aware of where we sit on the map, and if you don't worry, a lot of people do not know, it's fair to say that our place at the very edge of the world has bred quite a unique way of looking at challenges. So that's really built an attitude of stretching ourselves, of going beyond the accepted wisdom and following our good ideas wherever they may lead. And we are proud to say that a lot of those good ideas end up leading the world. So while we may be one of the world's youngest countries, we're very proud to say that we were the first in the world to scale Mount Everest. We were the first to recognize women's rights to vote. We were the first to split the atom. And for those of you who are Hobbit fans, we were the first to bring Middle Earth to life on the big screen. So our history really has driven us to become innovators. We've had to be creative, we've had to be practical, and we've had to challenge convention. And that absolutely applies to our education system, and in particular our university system, where students are encouraged to really think for themselves, to ask questions of their teachers and lecturers and tutors, and to not just recite the knowledge that they learn, but they're given the opportunity to apply that knowledge in real world situations. And that's achieved through our inquiry model of learning, which includes a lot of project-based learning, where students work in groups on an assignment of their own design. And a key point here I want to highlight is a lot of these group projects at the tertiary level take students outside the classroom, outside the lecture theatres, from our art galleries, our museums, to our incredible forests and beaches, where they can see where their studies have real world implications. And as I mentioned, as well as the essential academic skills, they're encouraged to develop as individuals and being capable of thinking independently, creatively, and analytically. And probably just one final point on this slide, we do excel, and we have built a worldwide reputation for education programs at the university level that combine technology and creativity. So those range across the sciences, building and architecture, engineering, filmmaking, animation and design, just to name a few. So if we can please click through to the next slide. Obviously, sorry, might have to click one more time if it comes up. Yep. And really leading this approach for New Zealand are our 8 world-class universities, who you can see in the screen in front of you, and some of which you'll hear from shortly. But I won't go into a huge amount of detail. Obviously, we have 8 world-class unis. I'll talk a little bit in more detail shortly about the world quality education that our universities provide. But if we go onto the next slide, which I won't spend a huge amount of time on, this is just a snapshot of the New Zealand university journey. You'll hear more very, very shortly about the pathway programs available should students require them to enter our universities, and from there, study, obviously undergrad study begins at level 7 before moving through to postgraduate study from levels 8 to 10. I think just a couple of key points to highlight there is this is obviously looking longer term for your students, but after completing a bachelor's degree, they then have the opportunity to complete a graduate or postgraduate diploma in just 1 year, a master's degree in 1 to 2 years, and a PhD in 3 to 4 years. So some quite competitive postgraduate offerings there for our international students. We'll keep moving quickly, and sorry, I'm rattling through this information, but a couple of key points here. We've talked before about the creativity and the purpose on developing innovators and free thinkers. But of course, your students will want the quality assurance to sit behind the qualification. They obviously want to be assured that what they're studying is recognized globally. And as you can see here, we're one of the only countries in the world to have all our universities ranked within the top 3% worldwide by the QS rankings. This is also true for the 2022 rankings, which have just been released. And our universities have a really robust and multi-layered quality assurance system, which essentially assures that all programs, teaching and learning are of the very highest standard. And in fact, our research tells us that their strong global reputation, our university's global reputation, is the key reason why 93% of our international university students choose to study in New Zealand. All right, we'll keep moving onto the next slide. And this is the key point. This is my personal opinion that I believe really sets New Zealand apart from the rest of the world, and that's the success of our graduates, or more specifically, the fact that our universities are preparing those students to be ready for work in the 21st century. So it'll be no secret to any of you in the education sector that the rapid pace of change means that employability is front of mind for many or all students. And I'm sure all of your students will be highly determined to graduate with a skill set that is highly sought after by employers in such a competitive environment. And so what I can tell you is that New Zealand's applied learning approach and that exposure to real work scenarios I mentioned earlier helps graduates to have a straightforward transition from study to work. So there's a huge focus on work-ready graduates who are obviously, as I said, very attractive to future employers. You can see there that we rank 7th for highest performing graduates, and that's out of 40 countries. And that's probably surprisingly to some, is that's ahead of graduates from many, many elite universities around the world in both the United States and the UK. So our university qualifications are absolutely internationally recognised. So when our students graduate from New Zealand, their qualifications, they obviously have the option to stay in New Zealand. They can go home, but they're also passports really for them to take them anywhere in the world, passports to success. If we go to the next slide, I might actually skip through this video, Ritu. I think just for the purpose of time, we'll click through onto future focus. This is again very, very closely aligned to the work-ready graduates, which I just mentioned, and it's our focus on preparing students for the future. You'll see there that the Economist Intelligence Unit has ranked New Zealand's education system first among English-speaking countries for delivering a future-focused education, and that's also looking at 50 different countries or economies across the world. It's a very lengthy report, and I won't go through it in detail, but what it does say is that young people today need to acquire a range of specific skills. So that's interdisciplinary skills, that's creative and analytical skills, leadership skills, digital and technical skills, and of course, global awareness. And what that report says is that young people educated in New Zealand are among those most likely to acquire these skills, thanks to a combination of our strong policy and cultural factors. And a real highlight in that report is that inquiry model of learning, which I talked about earlier. And that then all leads into an environment that which is innovative and critical thinking is fostered. Next slide, please. Thanks, Ritu. This is obviously a hugely important part of the decision for anyone considering study overseas. Students want to be sure that they're made to feel at home. They want to be warmly welcomed in a foreign country. We are tucked away from a lot of other countries geographically, but we do remain a truly modern, progressive, tolerant, excuse me, and inclusive society. So while we welcome students in, a huge part of that from a government perspective is that we want to expose our young Kiwi kids, our young New Zealand kids to a range of different cultures, religions, nationalities, and just different perspectives to their own for our young New Zealanders to gain a truly global perspective, which to me is the real true value of international education. And when we do have international students arriving in New Zealand, they're often surprised by such a diverse nation, which draws on our British and Māori heritage. Our population was about 5 million. We have around 200 ethnicities, about 160 languages spoken in New Zealand, and cultural celebrations such as Diwali, the Hindu Festival of Light, and other festivals such as the Vietnamese Mid-Autumn Day Festival, Chinese New Year, etc. They are all celebrated throughout New Zealand and are embraced by Kiwis as well as our international community. I've been living in Singapore for probably 13 years or so now, and I can tell you what I do miss is the unique work or study life balance that we have in New Zealand. The size of our country means you have a much more personal, or students have a much more personal experience. Cities are very compact, easy to get around. Class sizes, lecture theatres are smaller, and really no student gets lost in the crowd. You'll see there the World Happiness Report that we always rank very highly, as well as the Global Peace Index, which compares, I think, over 160 countries. And this is a ranking we've proudly held for the past 10 years, I believe. And I think of most relevance to our international students coming to New Zealand, we were the first country in the world to put in place strict guidelines for the care of our international students and our pastoral care of international students code of practice, which really outlines strong guidelines for our education providers, including our universities, to ensure that our students are properly looked after the moment they step off the plane right through to graduation and support for job seeking. All right, I'll take a breath now, and I'm going to go on to one more video, and this probably, hopefully, paints an even better picture of the warm welcome that our visitors receive in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
If these lands could speak, what would they say? They would say, welcome.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
They would invite you in to share this extraordinary part of the world. This place, it's yours too. This land is wide open for sharing. Our culture welcomes all cultures. So let us show you around. Lead you to our natural wonders. And throw you head first into our beautiful countryside. Because what you'll find down here, what you'll hear within our mountains, our lakes, and our people, what you'll discover on your journey throughout this precious land is that you're welcome here. Make yourself at home.
Great. Thanks, Ritu. I think I'm conscious that I'm probably running over time. So these are a couple of key points which I won't spend a huge amount of time on, but if we can click through to the next slide, please. So this really quickly, I'm sure a lot of you will be aware of this, but New Zealand has reopened and is reopening for international visitors in a phased approach. So we've had, so as of tomorrow or perhaps Monday, we are opening for visitors from visa waiver countries. But what I can tell you, from October of this year, visa applications are restarting for visitors from everywhere, all over the world. And I have been told in confidence, but I can tell this group that date is very likely to be brought forward from October to much earlier, and we'll likely to have an announcement from our government on that in the coming weeks, which is very exciting. And I can tell you that our country is very excited about welcoming back international students to our shores, as well as our institutional partners who I hope are probably missing New Zealand. And likewise, we're also looking forward to visiting India as well. So I've just put a few on this final slide. I've just put a few websites, key URLs. These are our government websites, Study with New Zealand, our social media handle there, our immigration website there, which holds all the key information around student visas, when students can return, and that's my email address. If you have any questions for me specifically, don't hesitate to email me. More than happy to chat in further detail too. So Richard, I apologize I've gone over my time, but hopefully that's given everyone a sense. And as I said, our institutions are here to speak in much more detail than I have. But again, thank you very much for giving up your time on a Saturday. And we do look forward to welcoming Indian students in the very near future. Kia ora.
Thank you very much, Ben, for that very comprehensive presentation. I've learnt with any of these online sessions, while the dream may be for a short time allocation, they all go over. So, the intention of this whole session was an hour. I can see it taking a lot longer, but I think there's lots of welcoming, wonderful information. And now I'd like to introduce our 3 New Zealand university partners. The 3 universities we have here today is AUT University, which has a QS ranking of 457, and Mr. Pablo Fernandez, who is based here in Auckland, will present for AUT University. For University of Auckland, with a QS ranking of 85th equal in the world, our top 100 university, is represented by Mr. Ryan Gammon, who I think must be sleepwalking given the time he recently arrived back into New Zealand. And he is also in New Zealand. And based in India is Andrew McLeod Karam, who represents the Victoria University of Wellington. the three universities are going to do a shared presentation, and I'm not sure who starts first. So over to the three universities. Thank you, Andrea.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Namaste, kia ora. We, New Zealand universities work very collaboratively together, which is why we've got a nice collaborative presentation this morning. We're going to start off with some basic information on entry requirements, basically career services to get the students work ready in New Zealand as well. And then we'll be giving you a little bit of information on each of our universities alongside. So I think Ben gave a fantastic introduction to why choose New Zealand for your students or your children's, if we've got some parents here, bachelor degrees. So we will not go into all of those details. What I wanted to talk to you about now is about the admission requirements and the scholarships that are available for students at each of the New Zealand universities. So we do all have the fantastic foundation studies pathway with Up Education for the students who would like to join us earlier after their 10th or their 11th grade studies. It is also there for any students who may have finished 12th grade but might not have received the required percentage for admission. For students who are completing their 12th grade with you and who would then like to explore New Zealand education afterwards, almost all degrees in New Zealand for the CBSE students require 75% average in their top 4 subjects for entry, with a 60% mark in English alongside. There are some exceptions to that. So for example, the medicine programs would be a bit higher, and our University of Auckland, who's here today, they also have some higher requirements for their engineering program. So just keep that in mind while applying and while advising your students. We do have the alternate pathways to the foundation studies. So I think we'll be telling you about those a little later on. Now, when you apply to a New Zealand university, it's a very easy application process. Often when a student is looking at destinations like the US or the UK or Canada, it can be quite stressful because alongside their academic results, they also need to take SATs, or they might need to prepare a very impressive list of extracurriculars or do an admissions essay alongside. In New Zealand, we just need the academic requirements. So if they have met that 75% average in the top 4 subjects and that 60% in English, they do not need to give us anything else and they will receive an offer. It's not a shortlisting process. You get the marks, you get your guaranteed entry. So it cuts out a lot of that stress for the students when they're also just trying to pass their 12th grade with the best scores that they can. Now, if they do well in their 12th, we do all offer academic merit scholarships. Different universities have slightly different offerings in this area, but it is generally up to $10,000 for the first year of study, which would be about 5 lakh rupees. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Ryan for the next slide from University of Auckland.
Thanks so much, Andrea, and kia ora to everybody who's joining again today. It's a pleasure to be here. So what I'm going to quickly touch on, and Ben gave a fantastic presentation, and he really covered what universities in New Zealand take incredibly seriously, which is being future focused for our graduates and our current students. And as part of that, that does involve making students work ready. It's incredibly important for New Zealand universities. And so all universities in New Zealand, including AUT, Victoria University of Wellington and the University of Auckland, invest heavily in their career services and departments, which really help students to become future focused and to become job ready. And they involve things such as workshops, professional development programs, and also large employer expos to really help develop students, but also help them to network with New Zealand businesses and giving them exposure to New Zealand businesses so they can articulate themselves to New Zealand employers. But those services are normally available to students from the very first day they start their studies here at university, but also those services are available to students post completion of their studies as well generally. So it's really important students really take advantage of what's on offer when they do get to university as well. Now, as Ben also said in his presentation, all 8 universities have fantastic links to industry, and it's part of their development and normally part of their program that there is some engagement with industry, depending on obviously the subject that students are studying. So while students are studying, there are some fantastic internship opportunities which universities will encourage students to take part in, just so that they can be job ready when they do finish their studies. Just to give you an example, engineering programs in New Zealand, those which are accredited by the Washington Accord will require students to do 800 hours work experience. So as part of student study, they will do internships as part of their undergraduate study. And that's normally in the form of 2 internships within their 4-year degree at university. And what's great about that is, once they've completed their degree, then there's normally potential opportunities lined up for them as they finish their program. And in addition to internships that are available to students when they are studying, there's support by regional bodies. And normally these regional bodies will, again, work with universities, work with local employers, creating networking opportunities for students, and as well as workshops to really help students build up those soft skills, those practical skills that they're going to need to take into the workplace. But that's enough from me. So I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleague, Pablo at AUT, to talk about something else.
Thank you, Ryan, and kia ora, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here talking to you all. And yeah, just following a little bit what Ryan and Andrea have mentioned, there are some skills in demand in New Zealand, and universities are particularly great at delivering degrees that are relevant to these shortages or skills on demand in the country. And that involves construction, so project builders, construction project managers, quantity surveyors are in strong demand in New Zealand. Engineering degrees as well, so from chemical, civil engineering, construction engineering, electrical and electronics or electronic engineering, geotechnical engineering, from environmental all the way to telecommunications. There's some really, really great employment opportunities in those fields. The medical and health services, including doctors, nurses, radiologists, but beyond those, other areas in the health sector, such as podiatrists, oral health experts, or dentists for that matter, midwives as well, and not only clinical degrees where students or people who work with patients, but beyond that, in the health sector, we're looking very strong demand for case management or health management employment opportunities. In the IT, software development, information, communications and technology, business analysts, so everything related to data analytics is in high demand. Project managers in ICT, analysts, programmers, software developers, networking or network engineering experts are in strong demand as well. Applied sciences too. We have seen a very interesting demand for special scientists or geospatial scientists as well. Environmental scientists, there's a very strong emphasis in the conservation and the environmental aspect of Aotearoa, New Zealand. And therefore, those skills are in strong demand. Food technologists, food scientists, teachers as well. And when we say teachers, we're looking at early childhood educators, primary teachers, as well as secondary school teachers. Accounting and finance as well are particularly strong within the business field. But beyond those, there are other areas that where skills are in strong demand in New Zealand. I think at the very top, and when we look at construction, construction is booming here in New Zealand, in Auckland as well. So, it is incredible to go into the search engine for job opportunities in those fields, and quite literally looking at 300 jobs on demand, available for experts. So this is just a quick intro to those skills that are in high demand. But thank you, Andrea. I think I'll move on and talk a bit more about what AUT has to offer. And briefly about AUT, Auckland University of Technology. I'm proud to say that I am alumnus of AUT. I first came to New Zealand in 2006 as an international student, as an AUT international student, as a matter of fact. And long story short, my degree at AUT sort of really changed the course of my plans and life itself. It was indeed a great experience. And I've been involved with AUT, from that point forward. I finished my degree. I went straight into job. So I was fully employed, full-time permanent position for a number of years. And then decided to go back to AUT to do my master's degree, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Then I worked in the academic area with AUT as a research assistant as well, before joining our brand and marketing services division, and then the international division at AUT. So I have a very strong passion for education, a very strong passion for New Zealand, and very much so for AUT. And what I can tell you about AUT is, as a university, this is a vibrant, innovative, growing community to be a part of. We're future-focused, forward-thinking, and we take a collaborative approach to learning. We have world-class facilities, world-class academic experts, and so we have managed to get to that top 1% of universities worldwide. And just keep in mind that as a young university, as a millennial university, we're in the top 50 universities in the world, number 1 in Australasia, and quite clearly a 5-star university. So the QS rankings, the Time Higher Education rankings have put us in very high standards when it comes, yes, to employability, teaching quality, inclusiveness as well, and obviously state-of-the-art facilities and beyond. We have ranked very highly as well, and from what I can remember, 26th in the world in the 2021 rankings for International Outlook. That is how we are perceived internationally, how that sort of reflects our ability to attract international students, and equally importantly, international academic experts, right? So as a university, we have a very clear mission, and it aligns with what Ben has presented, and that is to create world-ready graduates. So how do we do that? Through offering exceptional learning experiences and exceptional study options. Now, we're currently the second largest university in New Zealand, and therefore we have more than 250 study options at AUT. What I thought I'd talk to you about today is just some of these study options that are particularly relevant for international students, for students who join from India, and as well as those industries that we have previously mentioned in the slide before. So when it comes to architecture and built environment, we have a brand new degree on the Bachelor of Construction, and it has a strong focus on both quantity surveying as well as construction management. Art and design as well, we have a number of specializations where students get to work 100% in studio spaces, in graphic design, in spatial design, in areas that could be digital design as well, where they get to work with moving image. We even have the Bachelor of Creative Technologies, where students have the opportunity. This is quite an innovative degree, where students focus on projects. There's no assessments or exams as such, but students are presented with the opportunity to bring those creative ideas to life, right? So then in media as well, we have the Bachelor of Communication Studies. Education, we offer the Bachelor of Early Childhood Education, and also primary teaching, secondary, the graduate diploma in secondary teaching as well. Within engineering, computer and information, and mathematical sciences, we have a wide range of options within engineering, options that range from 3-year degrees to 4-year degrees. And these include mechanical, mechatronics, construction engineering, all those areas that are particularly relevant to the New Zealand and international economies. Within computer information sciences, I'm very pleased to let you know that we have taken things to the next level, and we're offering now a specialization in artificial intelligence. While we have 60 research centers and institutes at AUT, one of those centers is focused on artificial intelligence, and is based at our city campus, which is fantastic for our students. Beyond that, we also offer software development, digital services, and particularly now, very importantly, that would be cybersecurity as well. In health sciences, we have a wide range of options. Well, we don't offer medicine, so we don't train students to become doctors. We do have a wide range of specializations or clinical majors that allow our students to work with patients. And these are degrees that are recognized not only in New Zealand, but also in Australia, in some cases in the UK and Singapore. And this includes, from podiatry, from oral health, physiotherapy, midwifery, nursing, and a few more. But also beyond those clinical, we also have non-clinical majors, right? So, we have a wide range of options within the health science, and as a school is one of the largest schools focused in health sciences in Australasia. Hospitality, tourism, and events as well. The School of Hospitality, Tourism, and Events is ranked in the top 50 schools in the world. We have experienced before COVID a real boom in that sector, and we're expecting for that to come back to business and get those jobs on demand within the coming years, as early as when the borders reopen. And that's true for both hospitality and tourism. Applied sciences, social sciences and public policy, sport and recreation as well. We have the largest, one of the largest and most advanced research centers for sports training and development, and that's AUT Millennium. And that complements our 3 campuses. So we have 3 campuses, all based in Auckland, the city campus right at the heart of Auckland CBD, the North Campus just 10 minutes drive distance from Auckland CBD, and our South Campus down in South Auckland, around 15 minutes drive distance from Auckland CBD. So with that in mind, and also thank you, Andrea. I think I'll move to my last slide. Something that I like to highlight that is for all the degrees that we offer, as a matter of fact, for 93% of those degrees that AUT offers, we have internships or work placements readily available for our students. So if I go back a little bit to my story, I did a Bachelor of Business. In my last semester, I completed an 8-week internship. The internship turned into full-time employment. So that is, I had a full-time job waiting for me at the point of graduation. And, I thought that was, happened a few times, but it turns out that 54 to 65% of our students gain full-time employment through our internship program. So how many industry partners do we have at AUT? we have more than 5,000 industry partners. So just to give you an idea, this is across all our faculties. The majority of our industry partnerships are in New Zealand, but we also have industry partners overseas that allow our students to take internships in places like Vancouver, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and other places in North America. Our industry partners, as you can see, they range from very large organizations to smaller and medium enterprises as well. So with this in mind, world ready, works ready, rings true. This is particularly important because we're particularly proud of how we support our students before, during their studies, and after they graduate. Just talking briefly about employment or linked to employment opportunities. Yes, we have our industry partnerships in place, but at the same time, we have employability and careers for all our students to make sure they're very employable, they're fully employable, and they get to connect with potential employers. AUT has taken an extra step there and created what we call interns, Inter and SED. And this is effectively a full-time recruitment agency, job recruitment agency that is available for our students, not only by the time they finish their degree, but also 2 years after they finish their degree. So I said this before, we are an exciting, vibrant, growing community to be a part of. And I think that's how I perceive AUT, as a community that, you're part of, the alumni network, a community that is constantly growing, and it has been great to be a part of that. So thank you very much for listening to this brief presentation. I thought I keep it simple. And so thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much, Richard and Ryan for putting this presentation together. Just last but not least, I'd like to highlight, and please, if you'd like to take my colleague Fatima Sayed details, she's our regional manager in India and subcontinent. So she couldn't join us today, unfortunately. She was really looking forward, but she couldn't do it, and therefore I thought it'd be great for you to have her contact details just in case. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Ryan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pablo. And yeah, just to kick off, so my name's Ryan Gavin. I'm one of the international managers here at New Zealand's leading research-led university. A little bit about me. I actually represent the Faculty of Engineering, and I'm also regional lead for South Asia. So it's incredibly exciting to be here, and I cannot wait to get back to India. Just like Richard was saying, have really fond memories of my time in India before. So I'm really looking forward to getting back out there and seeing some of my colleagues as well as you all potentially. It's a pleasure to be here also alongside Up Education, who are long-standing partners for over 21 years, I believe. And it's great to be here supporting the FPP program. So just moving on to the next slide, thank you. A little bit about the University of Auckland. So we are New Zealand's leading research-led university. As Richard said before, we're currently ranked 85th in the QS World Rankings, which we're incredibly proud of. And we're also ranked, we have 12 subjects which are ranked in the top 50 in the world. Those cover subjects such as geography, archaeology, civil and structural engineering, and many other subjects, which we're incredibly proud of. We're New Zealand's largest university, so we roughly have around 45,000 students. Prior to the pandemic, we had around 8,000 international students on campus from over 120 different countries. Now, as we've said before, we take graduate employability incredibly seriously across all New Zealand universities, and also here at the University of Auckland. And again, we are the highest ranked New Zealand university for graduate employability as well. So just moving on to the next slide. In addition to some of the rankings that I've just mentioned, another ranking which is incredibly important for universities globally, not just us here in New Zealand, is the Times Higher Education Global Impact Rankings, which measures universities against the Sustainable Development Goals and how they're helping students and how the university is helping to meet those challenges. So what's really fantastic is in 2019 and 2020, the University of Auckland was actually ranked #1 in the world for the Times Higher Education Global Impact Rankings. And since then in 2021 and 2022, we continue to be ranked in the top 10 in the world, with our most recent ranking 6th in the world. So really, really incredibly proud to be holding the flag here for New Zealand in these rankings. So just moving on to the next slide. Lots of universities are interconnected right across the globe. So we have a huge range of fantastic partners, both with industry, but most importantly with other universities globally, which provide fantastic opportunities for our researchers, research projects, but most importantly, our students. So I've just highlighting here that, the University of Auckland has over 180 different partners from roughly 45 countries right across the world. And when I talk about opportunities, I'm talking about potential research internships that our students can go on as part of their undergraduate study, as well as student exchange opportunities as well for our students, which is a fantastic experience. I can say myself, I got to study abroad and go on exchange when I also studied at university, and that was incredibly life-changing. Now, for your students, if they're coming here, they're obviously already studying abroad, but adding their study experience to that next level is also going on a study abroad and exchange opportunity as well. So just moving on to the next slide, Andrea. Thank you so much. So where are we located? We're located right in the heart of the city of Auckland, which really is the engine of growth for New Zealand, we would argue. The city of Auckland is continually ranked in the top 3 as one of the most livable cities, and that's purely based on the quality of living available to residents here in the city. Believe it or not, as my colleague Ben was mentioning before, New Zealand is an incredibly diverse place, and Auckland definitely is that. 1 in 4 of Auckland residents are actually born in another country, so we celebrate diversity. So it's an incredible place to be, incredibly welcome. So that's fantastic. I just want to quickly highlight as well, our campus, our main city campus, is located right in the centre of Auckland, and that provides students fantastic opportunities because students can work part-time whilst they are studying. So, whilst they're studying, once they finish their studies, students can work up to 20 hours per week as it currently stands, whilst they are studying as well. So, yeah, just moving on to the next slide. So we have 8 faculties here at the University of Auckland. As I said, we're incredibly large, so there's hundreds of different programs that students can take here at the university. But really just to highlight some of our top faculties, which are most appealing to some of our students who are coming from India. Our Faculty of Arts, which is the leading faculty of arts in New Zealand, offers subjects such as languages, politics, and global studies, and anthropology, and many others. And they would come and do the Bachelor of Arts and opt for many of those different subjects that do appeal to them. Then we have our Faculty of Business, which I will talk to very shortly. But again, some of the most popular subjects for students are accounting and finance, which the business school is renowned for, international business and management. And then just looking at our School of Creative Arts and Industries, which is ranked actually in the top 100 in the world. They again have some fantastic subjects in urban planning, architecture, fine arts, and more. And then the Faculty of Engineering, again, there's a huge range of subjects that students can explore, over 10 different majors that they can take as part of a Bachelor of Engineering honours degree. And I've just mentioned some of those subjects there. And then again, we have probably our largest faculty is the Faculty of Science, which actually has the most subjects ranked in the top 50 in the world. So students can opt for computer science, IT programs, statistics, and many others. So just quickly moving on to the next slides because I'm conscious of time. So a little bit about the Faculty of Business. This is New Zealand's leading business school, ranked in the top 100 in the world, renowned for economics, econometrics, business and management, accounting and finance. What's really important is a lot of degrees at New Zealand universities are, yes, recognised by industry bodies here in New Zealand, but most importantly, recognised by industry bodies right across the world. And the Faculty of Business is recognised or is Triple Crown accredited. And what that means is that the degree programs are recognised by accrediting bodies in Australasia, in Europe, and North America. And that really grants students global mobility with their program post completion. So, rest assured, when they have completed their studies, they will be recognised globally and can take that elsewhere. So just moving on to the next slide. And those are the accreditations there at the bottom of the slide. So as I said before, this is one of the leading School of Creative Arts and Industries in New Zealand. And I think what's really fantastic is, a lot of study here at the university is, yes, getting into those theoretical sides of study, depending on obviously the subject that the student's taking, but also the wonderful practical elements. And really that's because the investment that universities make into the skills that students can learn with the equipment that they have available to them. And really just to highlight that the School of Creative Arts and Industries has some fantastic equipment that students can utilize as part of their studies as well, particularly in things such as like the Bachelor of Design. So just moving on to the next slide, Andrea. And this here is the Faculty of Engineering. So this is New Zealand's leading engineering faculty. And it's comprised of 5 major departments, which is chemical and materials engineering, engineering science, electrical, computer systems and software engineering, mechanical and mechatronics, and civil and structural engineering. Most of our departments are ranked in the top 100 or top 200 in the world, and our civil and structural engineering is currently ranked 40th in the world. And just like the business school, accreditation is really, really important for degree programs and for our students. So our Bachelor of Engineering Honours is recognised by Engineering New Zealand, which in turn is a signatory of the Washington Accord, again, which is the global standard for engineers. So once our students have completed their bachelor program, they are a recognised engineer and they can take that qualification right across the world. So just moving on to the next slide, Andrea. And I just really wanted to finish up on industry links, partnerships. Once students are studying, it's really important that they do extracurricular activities in addition to their studies. And so part of that is, it could be an involved research internship, which is with a research centre here at the university alongside industry, or it could be an internship. And I'm just highlighting here some of the companies that our students have done an internship or have done a research internship with as part of their bachelor program. And, like Pablo's story, what's amazing is because students have such a fantastic experience with that particular industry partner, once they have finished their studies, there's normally an amazing opportunity awaiting them as well. But it's really important that students do things like this, because it does really make their whole experience at university worthwhile and complete. So I'll finish there and hand over to Andrea. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Pablo and Ryan. It's lovely to be here with everyone this morning. As Richard had mentioned earlier, I am based in India. I look after South Asia, Middle East and Africa for the university. And I'm based in Mumbai, so quite easy to get in contact with, and we'll hopefully have the opportunity to come and visit your schools very soon. So now moving on to the only university featured today that's not in Auckland. We are based in the beautiful city of Wellington. Victoria University of Wellington, we were founded in 1897. So it's a great year for us this year. It's our 125th year anniversary. And we are ranked in the top 2% of universities worldwide. So we're number 236 as per the QS rankings, with around 20 subjects ranked in the top 1% worldwide alongside. It's just a little introduction to Wellington, because I think when most people think of New Zealand, they are familiar with Auckland. They may be less familiar with the other cities that are study destinations within the country. So Wellington is the capital city. This is actually of fantastic benefit to our students, because when you graduate from a New Zealand university, you can work for the government. For most positions, you don't have to be a citizen, you just need a work visa. So many of my alumni, including my Indian alumni, do go on to government positions afterwards. Wellington also has quite a large IT sector, about 25% of all IT jobs in New Zealand. It's got a fantastic creative sector. So we have the film industry based there, quite a large games design industry, good jobs available in VFX and animation, as well as some fantastic opportunities in fashion. And it was ranked as the most livable city in the world, 2018, still very highly ranked in that area. I think they're number 4 this year. So it's a beautiful place, great work-life balance. And because it's a very compact city, it's quite easy for the students to make their way around. They can easily walk from the university down to their part-time job afterwards. Also a very multicultural, very safe city. So they have a fantastic study experience. Like Auckland, about 25% of our population was born overseas, a very large Indian population alongside. So Diwali celebrations, Onam celebrations, you name it, it'll be there. Now, on to us as a university. I'd already mentioned our rankings. Some more parts I would like to focus on is the various accreditations that the university holds. So we are the #1 university in New Zealand for intensity of high quality research, which speaks to how many of our lecturers, how many of our academics are actively involved in their research alongside their teaching. We are a comprehensive university, so we offer most subjects, not medicine, only certain types of engineering. I'll talk a little bit about that, but with degrees right from undergraduate up to PhD studies alongside as well. We do also have a Triple Crown accredited business school, as well as the engineering degrees being Washington Accord accredited. And our architecture qualifications are also accredited for registration, as well as some fantastic opportunities for students studying accounting to meet their chartered accountancy accreditation as per their major, rather than having to meet those requirements separately. It's very flexible in terms of the study options. So students in most cases can mix and match subjects from across their degrees. And we have over 100 majors to choose from at the undergraduate level. Apart from the fantastic opportunities awarded by having the government there, we are also part of the Capital City Universities initiative, and we model ourselves as a global civic university, which means that we take our responsibility both to the local community as well as in terms of giving back to the international community very seriously. So here's where we are in terms of the location, very centrally located. We have, and you can see a lovely picture of Wellington as well in the background. So we've got 3 main campuses. Kelburn is where the majority of our subjects are taught. And Pipitea is our campus for business, government and law. And Te Aro is our campus for architecture and design. So Pipitea is right in the heart of the central business district, very close to the parliament, very close to the Supreme Court of New Zealand as well for our law students. And Te Aro is located at Cuba Street, which is very much the cultural centre of Wellington. Now, what do we offer as a university? And there's so many subjects, I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. 14 different bachelor's degrees with over 100 majors to choose from. I'm just going to highlight some of the most popular ones. We are very highly ranked in humanities. We have the #1 Bachelor of Arts degree in New Zealand, top 1% worldwide in this area. So some popular subjects there include international relations, political science, psychology, English literature, criminology, history, the list goes on. The Bachelor of Communication is fantastic for students who are perhaps passionate about writing and would like a practical career path. Communication professionals are highly in demand in New Zealand. There's lots of career opportunities available in that area. And then the Bachelors of Music for our students who might be musically inclined. And for them, there's actually a fantastic opportunity in the film industry as well, in terms of the film scoring composition that happens in Wellington alongside. Now, our next faculty, Faculty of Architecture and Design Innovation, we have the 3-year Bachelor of Architectural Studies. We are ranked in the top 150 universities in the world in this area. And it is a very practical, very hands-on degree with some fantastic equipment that they get to use and resources alongside. Building science relates to construction project management as well as green buildings. And my colleague Pablo gave a very good overview of exactly the demand within the construction industry there in New Zealand. So great job opportunities afterwards for the students in those areas. And in design innovation, we have everything from game design to fashion design to UX, IX designing, communication design. So for our creative students, that's a great option for them to go into. Commerce is one of our most popular degrees. As mentioned earlier, we do have the Triple Crown Accredited Business School. The accounting students will meet their CA accreditation as per their major, and that does have a recognition in India alongside if they do wish to return and be a chartered accountant there. We are the only university in New Zealand that offers actuarial science for any mathematically gifted students, and information systems is a really great major for them to pursue if they would like a career as a business analyst. We do also have tourism management under the bachelor degree, which are fantastic subject to study in New Zealand, given the type of exposure there, and it is one of our top 50 subjects in the world. Then the Bachelor of Laws does qualify them to practice as a lawyer in New Zealand. It's again a top 100 subject for us, and really great exposure given the type of faculty that we have and the position there where we're closely located to the Supreme Court of New Zealand. My next faculty, when we talk about science and engineering, many choices in science, very highly ranked in earth sciences, marine biology and geography as well. But there's many majors to choose from. So please do get in touch if your students are interested in sciences. Biomedical science, if they would like a career in medical research. We've got some great institutes based there on campus that are actively working on vaccines, cures to diseases, drug development alongside as well. Then engineering, we offer 3 different majors. We have software engineering, which also has a specialization in artificial intelligence. We have cybersecurity engineering, and we also have electrical electronics engineering, which has specialties available in it, including renewable energy, very big focus for our university, and robotics. Now, on to my last few degrees. Health, we do not have medicine, unfortunately, but it does cover some very in-demand areas of the health industry, such as public health. Bachelors of Midwifery, if they would like to go into that area, as Pablo mentioned, lots of demand in that area. And a Bachelor's of Early Childhood Teaching, which is, again, skill shortage area in New Zealand. Now, we do have our own fantastic careers department, which prepares students for their future occupations. They do organize a lot of networking opportunities, and many of our programs, including at the undergraduate level, have internships incorporated into them. So there is a great deal of support for students, both while they study and after they graduate, to find their future employment. We also run a couple of extracurricular programs that I would like to mention, which is alongside all of the clubs, societies, sports, etc., that students can do. So we have an international leadership program that they can get involved in, which gives them fantastic exposure, the opportunity to meet people such as ambassadors of foreign countries or the heads of international organizations. And the Wellington Plus program is a volunteering program that they can sign up for. These are both very highly regarded by the community there in Wellington. So it does give them additional opportunities, both for networking as well as for gaining skills that will be useful in their future careers. And it is mentioned on their transcripts if they successfully complete one or both. And as mentioned earlier, the regional bodies in New Zealand do also support our international graduates. So the Wellington City Council has its own Work Ready program that the students can sign up for. So that's it from us. I think Richard has already put my details on the chat. I have unfortunately got to head off for another event now. So I'll say goodbye to everyone, and I'll leave Ryan and Pablo to answer any university related questions afterwards. Thank you so much for logging in, everyone. And please do write to me if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help.
Thank you very much, Angie. I really appreciate your involvement today, and enjoy the rest of your other 2 events you're involved in today.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Andrea.
So Pablo and Ryan, I think at this point in time, in the interest of time, since I've shared your email addresses, maybe interested people can email you direct. And I stand corrected, Ryan's not in New Zealand, he's actually in the UK at the moment, so we are scattered throughout the world today. I would actually like to thank all the 3 New Zealand universities for agreeing to be part of this event today. As Ryan said, Up Education has been linked to the University of Auckland actually since 1998. And we have delivered their University Foundation program since 1998. We've been linked to AUT University since 2004, when we started delivering their foundation program, and soon after we started delivering the Victoria University of Wellington Foundation program. So we have a long history, and we are probably the leading foundation provider within New Zealand. There are other providers, and other universities have their own programs. So at that point, thank you very much, Pablo, and thank you, Ryan, and thank you again, Andrea, even though you've gone. So if we move on to the next item we have is actually focusing on foundation education in New Zealand. And I'd like to call upon Mr. Craig Monaghan, the Executive Principal of UP International College. Craig is a principal of international experience. He has been a principal in schools in Australia, China, and in Europe. So he brings a wealth of experience and background into this role. It's over to you now. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Richard. My 13 years leading schools with IB, GCSE, A-level, as well as the New Zealand curriculum and a number of others, have given me a really good open foresight into perhaps some of the courses that some of the students will be entering both universities with and our foundation colleges. So it's my delight meeting you all tonight and speaking to you. Nau mai, haere mai, which means welcome in New Zealand. And I just wanted to share a number of areas that we've focused on in the college. So our research tells us what do actually parents want from a foundation college? They want a top university as the endpoint. They want us to basically care deeply for their children because they are giving over their children to us, both in a pastoral and academic sense. And it's vitally important. And in doing so, they want a safe and welcoming both college and country of destination. And ultimately, they want great entries into employment and residency through universities. And our research says that's what we've been mainly focusing on and making sure we are delivering in those areas for our students. I think this has been talked about a number of times, so I'll jump over this, but essentially, I was overseas for 13 years at international schools in Egypt, in Germany, in Portugal, in China, and in Australia. And about the 11th year, I realized that although the adventures and the fantastic schools that I was teaching at, some of the world's best, were fantastic for my family and my career, ultimately, I missed New Zealand. Ultimately, I needed to be back where home was. And it wasn't until I left New Zealand that I realized what a wonderful, wonderful country it actually is. I think the fact that you can work while you study is quite unique to many of the countries that we look against. That's been done. We've got 8 universities. We deal with 3 of them, and my job as executive principal of the UP Pathways Group. Obviously, I have heads of colleges in University of Auckland, AUT and Victoria, as well as 2 of our Australian partner schools. So we are the foundation college of choice for those 3 colleges, and which we're very, very proud to deliver on. So why up? I know that Richard's mentioned for over 20 years, we have been dealing with our partner schools, started with the University of Auckland, and then our other 2 partner universities followed through. I think a big point of difference from us to other foundation colleges are we are a registered private school, quite unique. We're not a PTE, and as such, our academic staff are fully qualified and registered. So in the best schools of and English-speaking schools across the world, we have some of the best and most qualified staff. And it's our big point of difference. I always say a great college or a great school is made by great teachers, and that's certainly our point of difference. It's been talked about previously about our universities, but we actually take an active role in developing the independence of our foundation students. They often enter us, irrespective of their age, quite innocent in terms of academic rigor or effort and attitude. So we have to hold their hand quite closely at the start. But our plan is over the time that they are with us to gradually take away that hand holding and make sure that by the time they enter the university of their choice, they are ready to go in a tertiary sense. And in doing so, we get them to think critically and solve problems as a team. So that collaborative nature of our education is quite unique to many from the subcontinent and from Asia, where they actually have to examine their own thought, critically evaluate and discuss, and sometimes argue against some of our viewpoints of our academic staff. And that's something we are quite proud of. We do offer short pathway programs, which I'll talk about fairly soon, and scholarships. So I'd like to first of all start with the University of Auckland, and I will minimize that so we can see that properly. Our program provides guaranteed entry into the University of Auckland. In actual fact, we provide guaranteed entry into all of our colleges as long as certain criteria are met. They must pass 4 academic subjects and EAP as a subject. EAP grade is slightly higher than what you'd expect, but we do expect their English level to be of sufficient quality to be able to cope with the rigor that a Auckland University degree would require. Students select subjects from a number of available subjects, which you can see below, and that gives a breadth of subjects in which students of any interest can actually apply for and do it. Some of them, such as design and so forth, photography, we actually ask for a portfolio prior to them entering to ensure that they actually have some ability in that area, but very few prerequisites in those academic subjects. So we offer 3 different pathway programs, and you can see the entrance, the IELTS scores, and the GPA in our examination that we sit. But Accelerated is a 6-month program, Fast Track is an 8-month program. Most enter our standard program, which is a 1-year program, generally starting at the end of January, start of February, and going through the academic year so that they align with an entrance into that. You can see the GPA requirements and the IELTS requirements for the different pathway certificate programs we offer. The Accelerated is quite a tough course. It's basically, we have taken the standard course and concertina it into half the time, 6 months. So in particular, their IELTS score is looked at, and their GPA about being able to handle academic rigor is looked at. But the great thing about this is we've got multiple entry points and multiple length of sessions. I'm going to deal with AUT and Victoria as one because basically there are a lot of similarities. But first of all, AUT, again, we offer guaranteed entry. Each subject is actually offered for 1 term. We have 4 terms a year, so there are 10 weeks in length. It's not mandatory to have studied the FPP program, although the FPP program will reduce the time in our foundation certificate program. And students select strongly from the optional and compulsory subjects according to their university pathway degree. We've done a lot of work recently to link those so that if someone is looking into the design or architecture, we are strongly encouraging them to take certain courses to align with that degree. Very similar in Victoria, and the same length and the same comments are made, but you can see the different subjects that are on offer in Victoria, and both AUT and Victoria offer a wide range of subjects for the students, and in particular in the design and the environmental sciences and the social sciences is in particular a focus. For both AUT and Victoria, we offer fast track, standard track and standard plus. So our standard track is an 8-month program and a GPA of greater than 70%. Again, we have the fast track, which would align with the accelerated program in U of A, which is 6 months. And standard plus is given over to students who just need that little bit more English, that little bit more support in their academic viewpoints. But again, 3 pathways and numerous entry points aligning with an exit point, which will align with a intake of the particular university, either AUT or Victoria. It is vitally important that, to explore all 3 programs, and we offer prospectuses in depth and websites in depth on the 3 programs, which I won't go into too much detail. No doubt you've heard a lot about our FPP program, which Richard is driving, but it's an exciting and immersive program. It absolutely reduces the time needed for the foundation certificate, and it does provide a pathway for students. And obviously you've probably have Richard's contacts there, but I've included it there just in case you want to look into this program a little closer. So some frequently asked questions: will the foundation deliver me to all degree pathways to our 3 partner universities? Yes, very simply put. Can the foundation result be entered to be used to enter other universities? The answer again is an absolute yes. They can be used for all universities in New Zealand. So we have 8 universities, and our foundation programs can be used for all 8, as it's approved by Universities of New Zealand. However, we are strong in our opinion that when a student enters a foundation pathway program for AUT, and specifically, that they should complete that program and complete their studies with AUT. So we work very, very closely individually with students to ensure what they initially chose is what they end up doing. And of course, things change within certificate programs. And if they can justify a reasonable change, we will run with that and we will help them enter the university of their choice. Can they go to other countries? Yes, absolutely. Australian universities have been very keen to accept our foundation graduates, and even UK and US. But again, our predominant focus is that our students enter a program and then continue into that same program. So in essence, that we've got very much a continuum. We have a pathway from FPP to foundation to university, and that is very much a guaranteed pathway. Clearly, there are some prerequisites and parameters that need to be met, and they are rigorous, namely that they meet the minimum English level, they achieve the required aggregate score, and they pass each subject. But again, part of that entry into the certificate program is very much taking a focus on the individual student, not the group of students that are in a class. We are very data rich, and we analyze data very carefully to ensure any students that are struggling, we very clearly and very early contact the student, the parents and the agent, particularly if they're under 18, to encourage an active dialogue into that. And we take that responsibility very, very clearly. So I think I've kept to 10 minutes. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but hopefully that's helped you and understand a little bit more about our certificate program. And I'll hand it back over to Richard.
Thank you very much, Craig. I think you get the Gold Watch Award for pretty much being on time. I really appreciate that. So now we actually move to having a presentation or a discussion from the two parents who have actually got children studying in three New Zealand university at the moment. So two of them are actually enrolled in university and commenced in March this year, and the third one is completing the foundation program. So I'd like to introduce Professor Ganesh, who is the Chief Executive Officer of iQuery Education, and he will introduce the two parents today. Thank you, Ganesh.
Thank you, Richard, and it's really a pleasure to invite Mrs. Sunita Kapoor, parent of two of the kids, two of the children, who are a first batch of, let's say, foundation program students from India. So over to you, Mrs. Kapoor. If you could please, yeah. So
thank you so much, Mr. Ganesh, and thank you, Jyoti, कि हाँ मुझे ये मौका मिला and आप लोगों के साथ अटैच होने के लिए, and मेरे बच्चों को पाथवे मिला and न्यूजीलैंड जाने का, and frankly and मेरा जो एज ए पेरेंट्स जो एक्सपीरियंस है, मैं बहुत शॉर्ट में आपको बताना चाहूंगी, बहुत ही वंडरफुल एक्सपीरियंस रहा है मेरा. एंड मिस्टर गणेश एंड ज्योति ने इस पाथवे के साथ मेरा इतनी हेल्प की है कि हमें पूरे उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं हुआ है.
Mrs. Kapoor, can I translate it for the benefit of others who may probably not understand? तो क्या मैं translate कर सकता हूँ?
I can't कि मैं fluently English.
मैं बता दूंगा.
Yeah, sure. तो and first of all, first point कि मैंने न्यूजीलैंड क्यों चुना, एंड क्योंकि फर्स्ट हम लोगों का हुआ था कि हस्बैंड से डिस्कशन हुआ कि इज अ सेफ एंड वेलकमिंग कंट्री, एंड जो बच्चों के लिए सबसे पहले हमें चाहिए था कि एक सेफ कंट्री हो एंड रिस्पेक्टेबल, जहां हमें प्लीज कन्वे दिस मैसेज.
Right. Yeah. So as you can probably, you would have gathered that the parents, both the father and the mother, they were looking for a safe and I think respectable. That's what she said. I think country for their children, because especially they are not they are very young. So I think this is a question that most parents would have. I think you've got an answer from Mrs. Kapoor as to why they picked New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. क्योंकि मेरा बेटा जब था 16 years just 10th में था जब हम लोगों ने ये डिसीजन लिया. आई थिंक ज्योति जी ने फर्स्ट हमें ये सजेस्ट किया था, तब हम लोगों को बहुत ही एक अलग वो लग रहा था कि 10th का बच्चा कैसे जा सकता है. तो एंड देन जब हम लोगों ने सुना तो बहुत ही अमेजिंग लगा कि एक टाइम सेविंग था एंड डायरेक्टली गारंटेड की पाथ टू द यूनिवर्सिटी की हमें मिल रहा था. तो वो एक सेफ जोन हमें जो मिल रहा था कि हमें लगा कि नहीं, हमें ट्राई करना चाहिए. तो हमने इवन दोनों ही बच्चों के लिए ट्राई किया.
So they started off with the younger son, who was barely 16 when the conversation happened, and they were very concerned about the age, but at the same time, the guaranteed admission, the guaranteed pathway, that gave them the reassurance. In addition to the fact, in addition to the advantages that New Zealand affords every student. So that's what made them decide for the younger son. But they didn't stop with that. They also thought his sister, who was a year older, must also go, because they wanted both the children to have the same fantastic opportunities. With this.
And third one is जो मेरे बच्चों ने ये किया, पाथवे स्टार्ट किया, तो उन्होंने स्कॉलरशिप के साथ जब लिया तो 6 months में उन्होंने पाथवे का फाउंडेशन कोर्स कंप्लीट किया, जिससे स्कॉलरशिप के साथ. एंड वेरी हैप्पी कि मेरे बच्चे उस लाइन में थे कि उन्हें वो सब मिला.
Yeah, and that's really fantastic, and even we are proud at iQuery that both the students, both her children, both Yash and Disha, they both won scholarships to do the foundation program.
Yeah. एंड सेकेंडली कि मेरा बेटा जो स्टार्टिंग में एस्ट्रोनॉमी की तरफ जाना चाह रहा था, एंड उसका जब वो 8th स्टैंडर्ड में था तभी से उसको था कि एस्ट्रोनॉमी की तरफ जाना है. इंडिया में कोई ऐसी अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं थी, एंड आई थिंक एक बेंगलोर में था, वो भी बंद हो चुका था. तो हम ट्राइंग कि कौन सी कंट्री हमें चाहिए ऐसा कि हमें जैसे यूएस वगैरह में था, बट हमें जो सेफेस्ट कंट्री थी वो न्यूजीलैंड, हम जितना भी सुना समझा था वो न्यूजीलैंड इज द सेफ कंट्री, तो हम लोगों ने न्यूजीलैंड को चुना। एंड उसके बीच में जो आप लोगों ने हेल्प किया, मिस्टर गणेश थैंक यू सो मच, एंड ज्योति जी थैंक यू सो मच कि आप लोगों ने हमें वो वे दिया, वो पाथ दिया कि हम आज एट प्रेजेंट मेरे दोनों बच्चे ऑकलैंड यूनिवर्सिटी के, न्यूजीलैंड यूनिवर्सिटी के टॉप यूनिवर्सिटी के स्टूडेंट हैं।
So probably from our excitement, you would have gathered that she's absolutely excited about the fact that the children, both children, are studying at the top universities in New Zealand and in Auckland. And in particular for Yash, the younger child, he wanted to study astronomy, which was not available in India. So that's another reason why parents pick New Zealand universities, because they offer opportunity to study subjects that perhaps are not available yet in India.
मेरी डॉटर दिशा कपूर एज बैचलर ऑफ बिजनेस की तरफ है, एंड मेरा बेटा यश कपूर एंड बैचलर ऑफ साइंस। आई एम वेरी हैप्पी कि उन्हें अपना वे मिल गया है। एंड फ्रेंकली एज ए पेरेंट्स, मैं अगर दूसरे पेरेंट्स को सजेस्ट करना चाहूँ, इज द सेफेस्ट वे ऑफ फाउंडेशन कोर्स टू यूनिवर्सिटी। एंड उससे बेटर वे की टाइम सेविंग है आपका, एंड जो पैटर्न है, जो लेक्चर्स वहाँ के, जो प्रोफेसर्स वहाँ के, जो लेक्चर इतना कूल एंड इतना हम बच्चे इतना कंफर्टेबली अपने डाउट्स क्लियर करते हैं, रिकॉर्डिंग्स, एंड कभी भी कोई ऐसा प्रॉब्लम नहीं आई। आई थिंक कि एट प्रेजेंट मेरे दोनों बच्चे बहुत कंफर्टेबल जोन में हैं।
So that is alluding to the comfortable zone her children are with respect to experiencing university education, although they are still doing it online. But what is really highlighted there is that the lectures are absolutely cool, in every sense of it, I suppose, and the ease of accessing education, because this is another concern parents have, whether Indian students are able to negotiate the learning. And especially now that they have to do it online for now, for only for a short while, and I'm sure they will be looking certainly forward to moving to New Zealand very soon.
थैंक यू गणेश जी कि हमें एंड फ्रेंकली एक और एडवांटेज मिला हमें इंडिया में कि स्कूल वेंकटेश्वर स्कूल द्वारका दिल्ली से है मेरे दोनों बच्चे, एंड वहाँ इतना हमें लगा कि इंटरनेशनली हमें इतना रिस्पेक्ट मिला, एंड इवन बच्चों को इतना रिस्पेक्ट मिला कि स्कूल ने उन्हें इतना वेलकमिंग वो दिया एंड फेयरवेल दिया फ्रेंकली कि हमारे बच्चे न्यूजीलैंड की टॉप मोस्ट यूनिवर्सिटी में विद स्कॉलरशिप जा रहे हैं कि, एंड वो एज ए पेरेंट्स हम लोगों के लिए बहुत प्राउड फील करने वाला मोमेंट था। थैंक यू।
That's about the experience they had from their schools. So I think school principals in particular here, and also parents should take note of this fact that what the parent feels is that they felt respected, and they they were acknowledged for their feat of getting into some of the top universities in the world in New Zealand, and that too normally like that happens after post-secondary, and in this case it was much before that. So coming from a fantastic school like Venkateshwara Signature School in Delhi, they were accorded perhaps the best farewell that they could have imagined ever. So thank you very much, Mrs. Kapoor, for your kind words. And your words, I'm sure, will be inspiration for a lot more parents.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you, Ganesh ji, and thank you, everyone. And thank you so much.
Mr. Ganesh, can I ask a question?
You certainly can. Can we just finish up with the other parent as well? Then we can take the questions.
Sure.
Ms. Gunit, So I would like to introduce welcome Pushpa, Mrs. Pushpa Richard, to talk about her experience as a parent. Over to you, Pushpa.
Oh, well, good morning from India to each one of you present here. And I'm happy to introduce myself. I'm Pushpa Richard from Mysore, Karnataka, as Mr. Ganesh has already introduced. Thank you. So it's my pleasure to have been given the opportunity to speak as a parent among the galaxy of intellectuals to share the experience. So back in 2020, we as family, we had plans to send our child to overseas for his education. But when it came to which country, course, and university, we really had to think a lot about it. And this was the time when we met educational consultants from iQuery to take a proper decision with the informed choices that we make in all means, right from the country, university, course, employment possibility rates, and so on. So New Zealand Foundation program was introduced to us back then when the whole world was closed. Children were homeschooled. The decision was really, really hard to take. But the keen educational consultants advice and counseling session, which was arranged to us, this helped us a lot. So we as family were able to decide to take the next big step immediately after class 10 to our son in 2021, the previous year. He was able to choose the course which can lead him to a fruitful career pathway. And I must say that New Zealand Foundation Pathway Program is one of the best way to start up with. Why I say so is they do prepare the students to think and understand the concepts and ask questions. Through this method, the improvement which I have observed in my child is he's able to be an individual learner. He has been exposed to an international way of learning at an early stage. He's able to enhance his technical skills. So FPP has widened the scope of career options as well. So I must say that any parent has or had planned for overseas education for their children, they must definitely not think twice, but they should send them to FPP because this is the best way to start up for them for their better preparation. As I said in the beginning, rather than waiting to send after bachelor's, now would be the right time. And FPP online classes from the comfort of a student's home was a great experience. The quality remains the same as physical classes attending for the students offshore. This point I would definitely like to highlight, because I say this very strongly because the teachers were so caring. As the previous parent had mentioned, yes, the teachers are really caring. They would always be ready to help and understand the child's requirements. Every teacher in every subject made sure that my child was able to meet the requirements at every given assessment. And I must say that the dean and the principal were in touch with us to make sure that our child's performance was good. And I must not miss this opportunity to thank Mr. Richard, the principal of our education, and in the absence of the dean, Mr. Pedersen. I must really appreciate all the patience that you had to answer all our queries that we had made. They would never delay to answer us back through email or by video call. Thank you so much for that. And at last, I would like to grab this opportunity not to thank Mr. Ganesh Koromandal, the CEO of iQuery Australia. We couldn't have asked for more for our child to see upgraded, I can say. So this wouldn't be possible without you, Mr. Ganesh. Many thanks to you.
Thank you, Pushpa, for those very kind words. And of course, what we believe is that every child and every parent who aspires to be in an international university should have the opportunity today, and they don't have to wait, as you said, until after they finish their senior secondary. So thank you very much for those kind words. I'm sure your words will inspire a lot of parents today and hereafter to take those concrete decisions in the right direction. So I think that concludes the insights from the parents. But I think we can take one or two questions before I hand over this back to Richard. So I think, was it Ms. Gurneet who wanted to ask something?
Yes, hi, Mr. Ganesh.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So I'm Dr. Gagandeep Kaur. I'm an assistant professor. I am in the Bharati Vidyapeeth. And I'm so glad that I'm listening to all these global intellectuals. I was here listening that how come I can create possibility for my kid? My child is studying in SVIS in 10th grade. But I was looking for a PR option is better because I do have my younger child. He's in still class 6th. So what you will suggest to me that, for my kid, if she wants to move ahead, moving on scholarship basis, and if we will proceed for a PR process where I, as an assistant professor, what are the options for me? And my husband, he is with Oracle Corporation. He's working in IT industry for the last 18 years. So could you please suggest us that, because instead of sending my kid alone, I want that, yes, whole family can proceed further for PR process.
Yeah, thank you for the very important question about your future. But what I would suggest is, like, the immigration or migration is an entirely different cup of tea altogether. It's very much related to today's session, though, but that needs far more personalized attention. So what I would suggest is, we can arrange a meeting with you to discuss your options, and then, yeah, probably then that's how we can do justice to your, personal needs. Thank you for the question. Do keep in touch. Get back to us, and we'll be with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I can see one more hand up, and if it is please related to the discussion that we've had with the parents, I'm happy to answer the question. Otherwise, yeah.
Am I audible?
You are, please.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shweta.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, it was a very informative lecture, and it was heartening to hear the parents share their first-hand experience. Now, my question is that if my children want to go for dentistry or medical, then what is the career path?
I mean, again, that would need a lot of other explanation. But in brief, from what we understand is that the best way to do would be to do a first year of biomedicine at University of Auckland, because University of Auckland is the only university that offers medical programs among the three. And thereafter, it is highly competitive, and I'm happy to send you the first year entry options for medicine and other allied fields. So take the foundation program, go to University of Auckland, get your grades, get through the interviews, get through the test, and then start your medical career, medical education's year 2.
Can we connect on mail or something so I can have a more?
Absolutely, yes. We'll be able to arrange a counseling for you, a personalized counseling for you.
So
early next
how
week.
do we take it up from there? I mean,
Yeah,
you'll be sharing your ID at the end of it.
Yeah, so I have been sharing that email ID, so I'm going to share it again in the group. So please email your request, and then we'll get back to you.
Yeah, please share your email ID and other contact details. Thank you so much. It was a very informative lecture. Thank you.
Shweta, his details are actually in the comments box, and they've been there for quite a while, and they're there for everyone to share. So thank you very much, Ganesh, for introducing our two parents, and it was very nice to actually hear their thoughts and their values of the experiences involved with New Zealand education. Just before I introduce the next speaker, I just want to share my screen, and so you should be seeing on your screen a slide that says Foundation Preparation Program. So at the moment, for a student in India, they can actually commence foundation in New Zealand if they wanted to at the end of year 10. So if they've done year 10 with 80% in their main subjects and an IELTS of 5, we would enroll them into a 1-year foundation program. To get into a 3-term program, a faster one that Mr. Monaghan talked about, that student ideally would have finished year 11. And students to get into the accelerated program would need to have finished the final year of school in India and maybe not met the entry requirements for direct into university. So what we're offering is, and it's through the providers that Jagdish will talk about in a moment, we're offering the opportunity for students in India to do a preparation program which prepares them for our admissions exams, and on the basis of those admissions exams, most students actually meet the requirements to do the accelerated, the 6-month foundation program. So essentially means 6 months of foundation and then on to university. And the program itself that each of the providers delivers will involve English, a subject called tertiary study skills, which is learning some of the specific study skills you need while you're at university, and also students study 3 of the 4 available academic subjects. And it's the actual exams we deliver, Up Education delivers from New Zealand. So in those exams, students need to meet a required GPA, and the schools can provide details of that later. So that's just a quick run through on what the FPP program is. So now I'd like to hand over to Jagdish Manglani, who is the chairman of Dolphin Group of Schools in Rajasthan, and he will talk a little bit about the providers involved in the FPP program.
Thank you, Richard. This is Jagdish Manglani from Dolphins Group of Schools. I would be presenting for you the schedule for FPP course that is being conducted by these education providers across India, namely Dolphins Group, Indraprastha Group of Schools, Asnani School, St. Teresa's College, Omega International School, Venkateshwar Signature School, and edueasy.com. The foundation course dates for various universities are as follows. For the University of Auckland, the 6 months foundation course starts from 1st September 2022 till 20th Jan 2023. And that for AUT University starts from 11th July till 10th December. And for Victoria University starts from 15th July till 16th December. Similarly, you can see the dates for 9 months and 12 months option also. And the next available start dates would be somewhere in October. The link for this whole presentation has already been put up on the chat box in the Zoom presentation today. Now, let's talk about the schedule in detail. About the first provider, Dolphins Group, the intensive 4 weeks FPP would be delivered online, and the registration for the same would close on 21st May. The fee would be 75,000. There's a scholarship for 25,000. The FPP would start on 21st May, will continue till 21st June. The mock FPP would be conducted from 22nd to 24th of June, and the final exam would be from 27th to 29th of June. There's another option for standard 10 weeks FPP starting from 19th May, continuing till 30th of July, and the final exam to be conducted in August. For Indraprastha Group of Schools, Delhi, the FPP registration starts from, closes on 19th May. The fee would be 1.085 lakh, and it starts from 21st May, continues till 21st June. The mock exam would be from 22nd June till 24th June, and the final exam would be from 27th to 29th June. The contact details you can see at the bottom of the slide. For St. Teresa's College, the FPP is again online. The last date to register would be 10th May. The fee would be 1.5 lakhs. You could avail a scholarship up to 50% based on the merits. The FPP starts from 18th May till 10th of July. The final exam would be in the 4th week of July. Venkateshwar Signature School has again the online option starting from 1st June, ending on 21st June. The mock exam would be in 3rd week of July. The final would be in 4th week of July, and the FPP registration closes on May 20th. For Asnani School Bhopal, the FPP registration closes 20th May. The fee is 50,000. Scholarship would be 15,000. FPP starts 1st June, continues till 15 June. The finals would be from 27th to 29th June. And they have another option for 4 weeks standard FPP, starting from 1st June till 25th June. And the exams would again be on 27th to 29th June. For Lalaji Memorial Omega International School, Chennai, the registration closes on 17th June. The fee would be 70,000. Up to 50% scholarship could be availed. FPP starts from 18 June, continues till 8 July. The final exam is in 5th week of July. And they also have a regular 75 hours program starting from June 20th till 22nd of July, and the final exam being in first week of August. For edueasy.com, the fee would be 75,000, scholarship 25,000. FEB starts 21st May, continues till 21st June. The finals would be from 27 to 29th June. So this is about the details provided by all the education providers. And I would feel it pertinent to mention here that my son, Moksh, is in class 10th as of now. He is taking his board exams, CBSE, and he is applying for the University of Auckland for software engineering. He's really excited and looking forward to doing his foundation and being in New Zealand as soon as possible. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Jagdish. And just a reminder that Jagdish has put a copy of that presentation in the chat box for you can download. So we come to the last part of the session, which should take me a few minutes. So what I'm talking about is exclusive and is non-commercial. And what I mean by that is this offer is only available to Indian principals and Indian schools. And by meaning non-commercial, there is no commercial involvement at all for Up Education or the university partners in what we're about to announce. So we're doing it at very low cost. There's no requirement to pay agents who to secure your place in anything. It's all been done at the cheapest possible way. So the first thing we'd like to announce is our New Zealand School Exchange. We have a number of schools here in New Zealand who are looking for visits from Indian schools. Some of them have experienced schools in the past. They've come from India. And what they're offering is a 2-week intensive opportunity to be in a New Zealand school for students to actually experience life with a New Zealand family and accommodation, to have a Maori welcome on arrival. The students would attend classes, sports, and participate in the school life for the whole 2 weeks while they're here. And the homestay families would actually take them on tours of the city that they're actually in. So there will be 2 choices of destinations. Students can either go to schools in Auckland or a school in Wellington. So if one whole school would like to be involved in this exercise, they would need to select the city they would like to go to, Auckland or Wellington. If they select Auckland, there will also be opportunity for the students to visit the University of Auckland and AUT University. And if it's Wellington, they'll get to visit the Victoria University of Wellington. And in both places, they'll get to meet the foundation school and see what it's like studying foundation with us in New Zealand. There's an indication of the cost involved there. And probably the most exciting thing is a New Zealand leadership program for Indian principals and senior academics in Indian schools. So we're advocating 1 week in May 2023. It should be a 6-day, and following that, there's the option of doing a 6-day tour. The program itself will involve 1 day at AUT University, 1 day at the University of Auckland, and 2 days at the University of Wellington, Victoria University of Wellington. And over these 3 days, there will be a professional development program focusing on the 3 areas there I've listed there. Initiatives to support women in STEM, entrepreneurship, especially it relates to Indian high school curriculum, and a 2-day focus on school leadership from a New Zealand perspective. The New Zealand government will also host a presentation organised by Education New Zealand in Wellington, and you'll get the opportunity to actually meet other New Zealand high school principals. And I've just noticed a mistake on that slide. This leadership program is actually going to occur in March 2023, not May 2023. The cost involved is minimal in terms of participation. It is $200 for schools with students enrolled or in the FPP program or in the foundation program, and slightly higher if people are not involved. the accommodation costs are there. So who can actually register, and to get further details for the school visits, it's by school. So it's a whole school would like to go to a school in Auckland or a school in Wellington. And for the principal's visit, it's aimed for the senior management and principals of the schools. We are not organising a partner program, so it's essentially an educational focused tour. So there are the contact details for these programs. So Miss Shalini Jane will actually coordinate the school visit requests, and then she will work with me, and we will then put each school in direct contact with a New Zealand school. So to make it a school-to-school relationship. And ideally, in time, the New Zealand school will be able to send students up to your school in India. And likewise, the Principal's Leadership Program, Nidhi Bhatia from the Dolphin Group of schools will handle the requests of that. I've put in the chat box a link to that presentation. Please note there's a mistake in that presentation. The mistake is the principal's tour is actually in March 2023, not May 2023. It's the school visits program, which is in May 2023. So I would like to thank everybody for their presentations today. I would like to thank our partner providers in India for their involvement today. I wish them well for the next intake of the FPP program. It was good to hear the comments from the two parents on the successes their children are achieving. The two brother and sister, one's at the University of Auckland, one's at AUT University, and Mrs. Richard's son, Rohan, is actually Victoria University of Wellington, and he will be expecting to commence university studies from July this year. You heard earlier from Ben Burrows, the Director of Education New Zealand. The New Zealand border is opening. We're no longer going to be a hermit kingdom. It had been announced by the New Zealand government that visa applications could commence from October, but it was good to hear today that it is actually going to be a lot earlier than October, which will actually be good for students and for parents. So the FPP program that students will enrol in this year, depending on their successes, will enable them to commence a foundation program in July or in August this year, and ideally most of those students upon graduation will be able to commence university in March 2023. And that is another reason for the principal's visit in March 2023, is that principals who have children enrolled in foundation or university in New Zealand will be able to meet them firsthand and get an understanding of their involvement and their successes and the opportunities that they are actually availing themselves. So just before I close, Ganesh, would you like to say anything before I close the event?
No, I think you've covered pretty much everything. And it's been a fantastic day for everyone, especially with the foundation program now available for every student who is preparing or writing a Class 10 exam, as we speak. So parents, please make note that this is the time for you to sign up. And we've got our 6 partners across India to assist you. iQuery will be assisting you in 2 things. One, in understanding the course, the subject and course selections. We also assist you in terms of your visas and future migrations through our migration advisors, registered migration advisors. So we provide your children a long-term support right from the first conversation you're going to have with us. So we hardly have any time left for you to sign up. But once you sign up, please be rest assured that, as you heard from the other 2 parents, perhaps next year this time you could be speaking to other parents for the next group of students. So that's all I would say as of now. And of course, for schools who would be watching this now or later, and the principals who are watching, or school leaders who are watching this now or later, please make sure that you complete the registration. And once again, iQuery will be very much part of facilitating your journey to your destinations in New Zealand. That's all I would say. And yeah, over to you, back to you, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ganesh. And thank you, everybody. Keep safe, and hopefully I can get to India very soon, a place that's very dear to me and my family. Thank you again, everybody, and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.